This video is on setting up a scene to test materials. So first off, I'm going to delete this default box and I'm going to add a monkey head. I prefer to look at it from the front, so I'm going to go to add and we'll add Suzanne here. Then we will look at this straight from the front. Here's our monkey. Now I don't want to see this geometry. I want something more complex to test my materials on. So I am going to add a modifier over here in the Modify tab. Click on the little wrench and generate a subdiv surface. And I'll take the levels up to 2 in the viewport and 3 in the render. And I'll right click and I will shade smooth this guy. Another thing I want to do is add a surface underneath him, or her I should say. Let's add a plane, and that plane is going to pop in there. I'm going to press S to scale it and make it huge. It's a nice little material. I'm going to middle click the mouse button and look at our Suzanne and pick her up so she hovers above the surface here. Next, to get things looking good, I'm going to jump over here, click on this little arrow right there, and go to the View tab and click Camera to View. And what this will do is when I click on the camera, I can then control how my render is going to look. So I'll put my model at an angle like this. Not going to worry about the background. You'll see here in a minute. I'm not too worried about that. So this is all set up. Nice 3/4 view. I can see some of the ear. The face is at an angle. This is nice. Next thing I want to do is add in some lights. So I'll click on the viewport shading button up here, and you'll see the light I have is pretty bad. I'm going to click that light and press the delete button to get rid of it. And I'm also going to do something else before I move on. I'm going to click on this world tab, and I'm going to take the world and just make it jet black instead of gray. So there's no light at all in the world. And then I'm going to drop a light in here. So I'll go to add, and for the light I am going to choose a area light, which is basically like a rectangular light that'll float right above our friend like this. Now I'm going to press S for scale and make that light bigger, and you can see that light's having a nice impact on our friend here. Now if I want to click on the area light, this first area light, because we'll end up with 2, I can click on data here. See, I'm connected to it right here, and I'll take it up to take the wattage up a little bit. What do you say? 40 watts? Sure. And I'm going to make a copy of this light at this point. I'll press Shift D to make a copy. Then I'll hold down X for a minute. This will move on the X. And I'm going to let the light to hit this from the side, so I'm going to rotate this light. I'll hold down Shift and the middle mouse button to move, and click the rotate tool. I'll rotate this on the Y. I'll hold down Control so it moves at 5 degrees at a time, and I'll just rotate it. Yeah, doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be exactly 90 degrees or anything. In fact, you can guess. So there we go. I'm going to go click on the camera view and just take a look and see, what do I think? Do I like my lights? That's my question for myself. So I have two lights, this light above and this light on the side. So I've got, I'll take the wattage up on this, by the way. I'll crank it way up. How about 100 watts? All right, all this is made up. I'm just trying to make a nice little scene here and decide whether or not I like it. For the most part, I'm pretty happy, so I think I'll just stop here. I want to make sure that all of you that are watching this are in the before we stop are no longer in EV. So I'm not going to. I forgot that step. Click on cycles instead. So go over here to render. Click on cycles. And let's just make the max samples 10, so it doesn't, so our computers don't get killed. So for in our viewport and in the render, there'll be 10 passes to try to render this out. And before we start pumping out our materials, you might want to press F12 and see what happens. You'll notice I have my scene set to use the CPU for rendering. If you have a nice computer, you might want to use your GPU, your graphics processor that came with your computer. It'll render a little cleaner. But there we go. Nice little scene all set up right there. Alright, now that we've set up our scene, we're going to test out some more complex materials. So to begin with, once again, make sure you have the cycles renderer turned on or these materials will not work. So with Suzanne here selected, we click on materials. We add a new material. We're going to name this material glass. This will be very simple. First thing you want to do is turn roughness all the way down, which will make Suzanne shiny. And then move your way down to transmission and take the weight all the way up. The base color is white. Any other color you'll see through, but as you can see, that's all it takes to create glass. And there is a finished render. How do you make the glass look frosted? Simply take the roughness level up. Let's say I take it up to 50%. I'll click render and we will end up with a frosted glass that will look a little bit more like ice. Even has a plastic feel to it. If you change the base color, I suggest doing it sparingly, but perhaps you want a blue hue. This will also get the job done, and you'll be able to see the color shine through the transparent glass. In this case, it should be noted my roughness levels are taken down quite a bit. And that is some basic information on how to create a glass texture or material. Okay, so we've learned to create a glass material after setting up our scene. Now, how do we add a new material to this monkey? Well, just click the glass material you have applied and press minus. That will not delete the material, it still exists, so don't worry about that. Now we're going to click and add a new material, and we'll just call this material gold. In this case, we are going to crank metallic up to a number 1. Alright, so as soon as you take that up to a number 1, you're going to end up with a metal texture. The next step is to take the roughness. If you want a mirror-like reflection, you take the roughness down to 0. And you will end up with what I would call chrome in this case. But since I've labeled this gold, I'm going to take the base color and switch that to an orange. And there you have it. If you want a little bit less reflection, of course, you can take the roughness up. And it will not look quite so reflective and shiny. Or just leave it shiny. I'm going to press F12 so we can take a quick look at it. Again, my renders are set for just 10 passes through cycles, so it doesn't take very long, but as you can see, I quickly get a metal material with very little effort. Now that we've set up our scene, created glass, and created gold, we're going to take a shot at creating a glowing material that emits light. The first step is going to be to subtract that gold material from our model. Then we're going to add a new material by clicking New. I figure we'll pick something kind of spooky, so I'll pick a green color for our base. I'll leave all these settings the same and just simply go down to emission rather than transmission, which we used for that glass material we made. And we will take the strength up. Don't take it up very high. Almost instantly you'll run into problems. In fact, I'm going to pick a green here too. So we have kind of a combination of 2 green tones. And we're transmitting a green light. If you click on preview, you can somewhat see what's happening, but by pressing F12, you'll see that the light is actually emitting from the model at this point. However, it's not super obvious, so if you're trying to communicate that something is lit from the inside, it's a good idea to turn off your lights. So if I turn off this area light and this area light, I turn them both off. Make sure that you click on the little cameras. That'll stop them from rendering. Press F12 and you'll get the effect that you're looking for, which is there is a light in a dark room. If you have your lights set up, it's going to be much less obvious the appearance, the ghostly appearance you're trying to create. And that, my friends, is a glowing material that is very easy to make.